tells us. And, needless to say, Jesus is not a liar. This utterance from the cross, incidentally, is the only time that Jesus uses the word paradise in all of the Gospels. He is responding to the good thief, who, you'll notice, calls him Jesus. That's a very familiar way of speaking to him. The disciples, on the other hand, almost always call him teacher, master, or rabbi. Usually only the demons and those seeking healing use the name Jesus, which in Hebrew means the Lord saves. It's beautiful to recall that this was the name given to him at the Annunciation, when the angel Gabriel told Mary what to call her son. It's the name that Mary and Joseph called him when he was a baby. "Don't cry, Jesus," they may have said. "It's okay." It's the name his extended family used when he was growing up in Nazareth. "Joseph," they would ask, "how is your son Jesus doing?" It's the name his friends used when they called him to play games. "Jesus, Jesus, over here." It's the name that the adults in Nazareth used every day. That Jesus is a good carpenter. But in his public ministry, that name wasn't used as frequently by his disciples or even friends like Martha and Mary, who also called him teacher, rabbi, or master. Maybe he hadn't heard the name very much lately. Maybe he missed being called by the name his parents used. But now, on the cross, his name is used by a stranger, a repentant sinner, someone who asks him for help one last time. The good thief shows us who the one next to him is. A man, yes, a man with a simple name, Jesus, but God too, the man who can open paradise for him. And Jesus responds. At the hour of his human death, the Divine One reveals what God has in store for us. From the cross, Jesus tells the good thief and us about the future that is planned for us. Even in his agony, he offers the man a kind of spiritual healing. So one of Jesus' last acts before his earthly death is a healing. Don't worry, he's saying, there is a heaven. So we need to take Jesus at his word. Then, on Easter Sunday, Jesus does something even greater. He doesn't simply tell us about eternal life, he shows us. Modern writers often say, show, don't tell. That is, tell the story simply rather than over-explaining. St. Ignatius Loyola often said, love shows itself more readily in deeds than in words. Or as we would say today, actions speak louder than words. On Easter Sunday, at the resurrection, Jesus shows us the future God has in store for us. St. Paul, in his first letter to the Corinthians, says that Jesus is the first fruits of those who have died. What does that mean? Well, in those days, the first fruits were the first grains, fruits, or other crops that were harvested, which were then offered to God as a thanksgiving for God's faithfulness. The Hebrew people were supposed to offer God, for example, a sheaf of the first grain harvested on the day after the Sabbath following the Passover feast. Then came the rest of the harvest. Paul is using the term first fruits to underline the certainty of the resurrection. First comes Christ, who is raised from the dead, never to die. Then come all those who believe in him. We will follow him in the harvest. When people in first century Palestine encountered Jesus, they encountered the reign of God, what God has planned for us. When the sick encountered him, they were healed of their illnesses. When the deaf encountered him, they were able to hear. When the lame encountered him, they were able to walk. When the poor encountered him, the good news was preached to them. When those on the margins encountered him, they were restored to community. When